We also found early on that we decided this is Thursday night date night is probably not a great time to have our therapy session right before. Because because you kind of leave sometimes filleted.
Yeah.
You know, you leave, like, you're very vulnerable, you're open, and then we'd go to our date night and we're like, we're just ticked off at each other because of our therapy session.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can expose things that are not closed up immediately.
It can be raw.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't always tie things up in beautiful bows at the end of the session. It's one of the things that really frustrates me about therapy in general is that it's like when I was writing my dissertation, I read this article about a person that's like, people come into surgery, right? And when you go to surgery and you're trying to get your heart worked on, people, you know, they open you up, they do all the on the body and all the stuff, and they work on it, and then they sew it up and they stitch it up. Well, guess what we do in therapy is you come into therapy, we open up your heart, and then sometimes the hour ticks, and we have to like let you go out into the world with bleeding and stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the tough parts about our job is that, you know, we're doing our best, but yeah, definitely don't do date night before therapy. It's just,
Yeah, we changed that up.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. So in light of that, like, I know that everything is nuanced and every situation is different, but like in general, like, would you suggest weekly? Would you suggest bi-weekly? Like, how often is every situation different? Like, are you looking at 4 sessions? Are you looking at 8 sessions? Like, what would be kind of a general expectation for people?
Want me to go? I love at the get-go to see couples weekly because, right, we're building a relationship. I'm getting to know them. I'm understanding their pain and their inner dynamics of their relationship. So weekly is, I feel, ideal. Obviously, everyone's situation is different. But yeah, I'd say we had talked about, you know, between 12 and 20 sessions is a fair estimate of time to really do some meaningful work. And, you know, I think it is case specific when you have other maybe things at play in the relationship. But I think that's a fair amount of time.
yeah. And I would add on to that in some cases it makes sense to do what's called an intensive. An intensive therapy is when you take a whole, you know, whole weekend, like take 4 days or 1 day or 2 days and go through the whole therapeutic process. I worked with this group called, there's a group called Marriage Refuge that's in town. There's also called the Hideaway Experience. They're mentioned in Mindful Marriage, one of the books back there. And we do all the therapy in a whole weekend. And kind of break it all out, get it all in, and you know, we have people that like they've already signed divorce papers and they're ready to be done. This is their last ditch, and you know, we see like healings happen over and over again.
Amazing.
It's so great. So it's always worthwhile.
I love that. Okay, so then on a little bit of a different note, but still similar, when it comes to marriage therapy and individual therapy, like, do you suggest couples come together and start working together, or like as they come together you realize like, oh, it might be best if you each do some work by yourself first and then we come together? Is there some kind of formula with that
Yes.
that works?
Yeah, so the rule with this is we have 5 different things when we recommend doing individual therapy first, right? One is if there's domestic violence going on, you should not be doing couples therapy. You need to quit beating each other. And unfortunately with therapy, things will get worse for a short period of time. So we don't want to intensify where violence can happen. So we want you to get in the therapy room and learn how to emotionally regulate and quit getting run into that spot where you're hurting your spouse and the people around you. Another thing that we would recommend if we have severe trauma walking in the room, you know, whether it's, you know, childhood trauma or if you're, you know, in theater, the combat theater or what have you, sometimes it makes sense to do individual therapy in that type of arena. If we have major addictions, it's really worthwhile to get those addictions taken care of. Whether it's alcohol, drugs, or what have you, sex addiction, that's one of the times we really want you to get individual therapy in order to get that taken care of. If you're in the middle of an affair, and I know it's kind of weird to say that in a church, but it happens all the time. If you're in the middle of an affair, you need to stop your affair right now and get that taken care of. We need to get that dialed in. As long as you have another person that's out there, that is so damaging and creates a horrible dynamic between the couple. And then the final one, I would say it's like when you are very entrenched into blame, where you have decided that your spouse is the enemy or a horrible person. We call this contempt, where you are so dialed into this mentality about them being, next to Satan. That would be another time period where we want to kind of simmer you down a little bit, let you see that this person is still created in the image of God as well. So those are the 5 when we recommend doing individual therapy.
Great. That's great.
Speaking of affairs, infidelity, betrayal, have you seen success of people walking through restoration, healing, and like being able to save their marriage on the other side of an affair?
Yeah, absolutely. Betrayal trauma is, I would say, a top reason that a lot of couples come in to receive therapy. And, when we're kind of looking at it from the framework of, right, these violations of love and trustworthiness that have taken place, right, we're really trying to say, okay, how do we restore love and trust? Almost kind of like a piggy bank. How are we making small deposits, right, that are going to surmount back up to the damage that has been done? And that is a really meaningful journey, and it is absolutely attainable. And a lot of people have been able to make that journey of restoring love and trust. Would you add anything, Lance?
Yeah, the statistic is crazy to me when I read it. It still baffles me, but I've seen it over and over again, is that for couples where an affair has happened, 50% of couples will stay together. And of that lot that have stayed together, 3 years later, I forget the exact number, but the couple talks about how the affair ended up being this huge turning point in their marriage. Now, you don't want to say that to the person when they're coming in, when they just discovered an affair. I don't know where you would learn that. Maybe I said that to someone and shouldn't have, but that there is hope is the big thing to know. That if that has happened, if you are working hard to stop it, there is hope.
That's good.
That's great. That's encouraging to hear. Off-script question. Curious, as a therapist, what do you love most when you see a characteristic in an individual or a couple that just like that gives you hope that there's gonna? What are you looking for that you want to see in a couple that's getting help, that lets you know like this is gonna make it? And on the flip side, what would be the counterpart to that of something you would see that would be a major roadblock to them getting healing? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like humility versus pride, that kind of thing. What attribute are you looking at that really makes you happy as a therapist to see in somebody that's coming to sit with you?
Do you want that? Okay, so for me, one of my favorite Bible verses to quote when people come into the therapy room is from the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus is talking about when your brother has a speck in their eye, that you're supposed to pluck it out, right? Wait, is that's what we do for everybody, right? Just
I
pluck it
her
out.
speck out all the time.
Yeah. Oh, you got some. No. It says, to take the plank out of your own eye. Examine the plank. Then, and this is an important part, it's not like you're supposed to go in your own little closet, but no, then you can come and help your brother with a speck that's in their own eye. one of the things that I think makes the biggest difference in being successful is when the clients are willing to self-examine and look at themselves in the mirror and quit blaming their spouse for every single one of their problems. Guess what, guys? On Judgment Day, when you go up and you get to meet God on high, and you get up there and you're like, well, I mean, I got stuck with this person over here. Like, come on. Take account. What's going on inside of you? Step into the person that you're called to be. So that for me is where I get excited, when I have someone that is willing to lean in and look at themselves and do self-examination.
That's good.
That's great.
Okay, so having been around a lot of married couples and working with a lot of married couples, what problems are more normal than couples think, but they often feel ashamed of? Like, you see it, you hear about it all the time, but all the couples are probably like, I'm the only one dealing with this.
Yeah, I think one of the great parts about restoration therapy is being able to look at, okay, right, we cope in these certain ways. We blame, we shame ourselves, or we control other people, we control outcomes, or try to, and then we escape, right? We try to remove ourselves. I think that when you kind of look under the hood of what everyone's going through in their relationships, you're like, okay, we all have these ways of adverse coping. Yeah. And, right, mine might come out a little bit different than yours, but it's still impacting my marriage in a way that is, right, we're not pursuing connection, we're not pursuing intimacy. And so I feel like even just like being able to name, like, what are the primary ways that all of us cope, the ways that we all deal with our pain, because everyone does. Being able to just kind of name it and see, like, okay, this is what I do. These are the ways: blame, shame, control, escape. These are the ways in which I handle my pain in my marriage. And the more, I think I hear from couples and, process and journey with people, it's a lot of people are facing those same roadblocks. And so to be able to, name those and be able to say, this is what's happening with us. A lot of people would be surprised in saying, like, yeah, me too. I experienced that as well.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a great answer.
That's great. Okay, what is one of the most damaging myths about marriage that you wish couples would stop believing?
Okay, I'm excited about this one. Your spouse does not complete you.
Come on. That's true. Jerry Maguire was full of it.
Okay? At some point in society, it became this thing, and the church has bought into it too. Like, you're my everything. Right. You make, like, this is the pinnacle of everything, is this marriage. Oh my gosh, when you get married, it's all gonna be great. Everything's gonna be solved in your life. That is the thing.
One.
Yeah, you are my one.
Yeah.
It is to me, it does so much damage, because when we enter into marriage with my spouse as Savior, guess what my spouse is not going to be able to do?
Yeah.
Right.
Say it.
Right.
She can't save me, guys. And I can't save her. I mean, I am pretty damn good. Okay? Sir Lancelot, it comes into the name. I'm going to work hard. But guess what? It puts this weird stress on the person to be this fulfillment of. Now, marriage was created so that man would no longer be alone. That is the design, that we are designed to be together and work together with one another. But Jesus is the way still. And that is where we find our answers of truth and freedom. And from that place, that is where we can have wholeness in relationship. So that would be my, what was the?
Damaging myth.
Yeah, that is the damaging myth that I want to fight with, like,
I like it.
2 bars. Yeah.
Amen.
Mine would be that, okay, I just need to work on my communication. If I can just communicate better, if I can just talk better and be able to express the words, then my partner's gonna understand what I'm saying, and then surely we're gonna be on the same page.
Ah.
And we do.
Just say it right. say it right, baby.
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't say it right.
Just communicate, because we're not communicating, or we're not communicating well. And I think it's a lot more than just talking to someone, because we talk to people all day who are not our spouse, and we communicate, right? And with our spouse, or a partner, whoever, what's different there is I share an intimacy and a closeness with you that's unlike other people that I communicate with. So what's happening underneath the surface that is, right, driving up my pain, right? What's the truth or the lie that I'm believing about myself, right, when we're interacting? And so for me, the myth is that it's not really a communication issue. It's, what's your pain saying? What's your pain speaking? And that cycle that you get into with your partner.
There's lies from the enemy that are going on inside of you
Yes.
all the time that are messing you up in your relationship. Like that, if we can get that dialed and understand,
Yep.
instead of this idea of like, just say it right.
That's so
Right. And just,
great.
sorry to add one more thing, I think, right, because let's walk that down the road for a second. Let's say I say it right. I say the sentence perfectly, and I communicate my
Say it like this.
Yes, and I say it well. Well, right, if it was as simple as that, right, I don't think we would really we wouldn't have jobs, right? It's, again, something about what I'm saying to you is triggering a lie that the other person is believing about themselves, right? Which is then making them react or come back to your communication in a way that, right, it's not about the talking. It's about what's the messages that are underneath that, and how are we pinging each other into this unhealthy cycle.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, I love that.
She's good.
That is good. I was thinking about the question you asked earlier, and I'm obviously not a therapist, so I can't speak for everybody, but you asked Sabrina, why people don't go to therapy. I don't know why people don't. I think I can speak for a lot of men. I think a lot of times we don't want to be vulnerable at that level. And vulnerability is a really precious thing. I try really hard. One of our values is to be authentic, whether we're on the stage or just in life, that we're just real.
Yeah.
I think authenticity, in my opinion, is different than vulnerability. Vulnerability is, I can be authentic in front of a big group, but I just, maybe I'm off on this, but I don't get vulnerable in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty specific. I got a small circle of people. I think for me, just maybe this will help any guys out there that could relate with this. My biggest pinch point sitting down with Lance years ago was I just didn't want to get vulnerable with him. And that's scary territory, especially when there's not that trust built yet. I just have learned, and I'll give a plug for getting help, that willingness to take that risk I can honestly say it's changed my life. For Sabrina and I, we walked through some hard seasons in life, and we're not just like every week, regardless, going to Lance, but when we realized, like, man, the gauges on the car are looking funky. We need to go take it into the shop. Let's have Lance look under the hood. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, I've had Lance, you've been that for Sabrina and I over the years to help us walk and navigate through some tumultuous situations. We have Kathy and Stuart here that really function as spiritual leaders and pastors in our life. I have a board that I was on the phone yesterday with, having a very vulnerable conversation with a pastor in my life. And that circle's small, but I just realized how precious that is, how hard it is, and how rare that is, that a lot of people miss out on that because it's scary, I think, for especially a lot of guys. Can you speak into that for a moment and help maybe especially some of the guys here today that would be reluctant to get to that level beyond just a surface relationship, but really deal with the stuff? What are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I think this is like the big thing in society today that we're dealing with is this for men, particularly, is that, we can't be weak, right? Yeah. We can't show weakness, because once you show weakness, then they'll get you, right? And I think this is, it plagues the church. I think it plagues all society. There's a loneliness epidemic that's going on throughout this world. And the thing that's so hard is to have that face-to-face interaction and to be vulnerable with another person. Guys can talk sports, right? Guys can talk, motorcycles. They can talk surfing, climbing, whatever it may be. Like, we have our shtick that we can talk with one another. But the minute it gets vulnerable, we start getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, big time.
And the thing that I want to tell you, is, in the scriptures says, where we are weak.
Yeah, I like that.
You know what I mean? Where we are weak, he is strong. The thing that I've learned in my life, that as I lean into my own vulnerability and my own uncomfortableness in my own life, that is where Christ comes out the most. Those weakest parts of my life, those parts where I feel so uncomfortable with. And that's what I find in the therapy room, is that sacred space that we're afraid to let anybody in. We're so scared. In that sacred space, it's where Christ can be magnified the most. And a lot of times your misery that you've been through, sorry to be pastoral or whatever, your misery becomes your ministry, right? The thing that was horribly done to you, now you care for those people that need help. So, sorry.
It also helps that they are legally bound to not tell anyone.
Yeah, I can't
As
say
well.
anything.
That does help.
Which is
on the
awkward with
DL.
you guys right now.
It's fabulous. When we were in that moment, I don't know, I didn't have any issues getting vulnerable very quickly, because it was finally, I had a safe space, and I
That's
knew
great.
he couldn't talk to anyone else about it.
Nope.
I'm like, here it's all. I finally have someone I can share it all with. Before we wrap up this session, is there anything that you two would just, that you want this group to know, that you just think would be valuable? I really want, I want the marriages of Grace North County to know this. Or whatever words of wisdom you have. It doesn't have to be in that box.
I would say just overall, the openness and willingness to pursue growth, even if it's scary. So right, just having this heart posture of, I want to step into all that God has for me. I want to be the spouse that God has for me, right? I want to be, I want to feel good about myself and who I am, and, right, have confidence that maybe I've never experienced in myself before. And, right, that journey, it requires you to be open and to take those brave next steps. And so I would say something I would want, anyone in here to know, if maybe that's been something that therapy's been something that you've thought about or considered, but has felt like, oh, I can't touch that, that would be too scary. Let it surprise you. Be brave, take that first step, because I think what's amazing on the other side of it is that you know yourself so rightly. And you get to commune in your relationship with God in such a deeper, more intimate way through knowing yourself rightly. So I would say, be brave, pursue growth, and maybe let the process surprise you.
So good.
That's so great. I think the first thing I want to say is thank you to you guys. Church, you have right here, I'm going to break confidence for a minute. You have in front of you pastors that authentically, really care about your well-being. Not only that, it comes from a core that they live out in their own souls. They long to do what is right, to live a life that honors the Lord and honors the movement of the Spirit that needs to happen throughout North County and throughout the world. So I want to just tell you guys, they hit every single part, right? It's not just your soul, but your mind, body, spirit, and soul. So I just got so much respect for this pastoral team that you guys have. You don't know how good you have it, because I've seen some others. I'm just saying. Okay?
But he really can't say.
Yeah. we're blessed to have you guys in this community. I'm so glad you guys are here. I know it's a long trip down from the north, but it's good. Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I'm trying to think about when it comes to the big thing that I want to share, I would just say there are no lost causes. It's never too late. I think, to me, wherever you are, wherever life is in this moment, to know that there is a God who is more than able to turn it around. Okay? I think wherever you are in your life, whatever's going on inside of you, like, go back. Go back. He's ready for you to go. He's got great plans for you. He's got great plans for your marriage. Quit buying into the lies of society that say we're done for, right? God's got so much more to do in your lives. So I think that would be my heart, my vision. I don't know if that tells you to go to therapy or not. I don't really care. I just want you to lean into the God that is good and more than able to do great things inside of each and every single one of you, okay?
Yeah. That's so good. So good.
I love it. That was great.
I know. Oh, love that.
That was the first time we've ever had a conversation like this with therapists.
I know. Very first. Welcome.
And so,
Welcome to the party. That was great.
hey, would you put your hands together and thank Drew and Dr. Lance? We
Now you know why
appreciate
we like this guy so much.
Hey, their info, by the way, is in your packet there, and we give that out. If you have any questions, you can see us. They're going to slip out here in a moment before we move on.